Have you ever stopped to observe how time seems, almost imperceptibly, to try and fold your body toward the ground as if gravity were winning a silent battle against your physical structure? Often, as we pass the age of 60, we accept that shrinking in height and the rounding of our shoulders are merely inevitable marks of maturity, as natural as gray hair or the expression lines on our faces. However, what the science of longevity is beginning to reveal to us is that this physical change is not just a matter of aesthetics or clothes that no longer fit as they once did. In fact, your posture is the most precise visual thermometer of your biological vitality and functional reserve, acting as an early warning that your autonomy may be under a profound and invisible threat to less observant eyes. The danger we ignore lies in the fact that every inch you lose in height is not just one bone getting closer to another, but a systemic collapse that begins to silently crush your internal organs. Imagine that your body is the mast of a great ship. When that mast begins to bend, the sail loses its ability to catch the wind, preventing the vessel from navigating with the necessary strength. Today, we are going to discover how hyperkyphosis and the forward projection of the head directly affect your brain oxygenation, the efficiency of your digestion, and most importantly, your self-perception of power and control over your own life. There's a powerful opportunity to reverse this biomechanical process, and the first step toward regaining your physical dignity and mental lucidity begins with the awareness that you still possess total control over your central axis. Often, spinal curvature is treated as a mere aesthetic detail or an inevitable characteristic of senescence, which leads millions of people to ignore the warning signs their own bodies emit. After 60, this neglect becomes dangerous because the structure that supports us undergoes accelerated biological processes such as the dehydration of intervertebral discs. Imagine these discs as small gel shock absorbers that, over the decades, lose fluid and the ability to absorb impacts, causing the vertebrae to move closer together and the spine to lose its original height. This phenomenon not only reduces our physical stature, but initiates a chain reaction that compromises the integrity of the entire skeleton, creating a fragility that is often only noticed when pain becomes incapacitating and limits movements that were once performed with natural ease. The silent aging of posture affects millions of seniors who, without realizing it, are collapsing upon their own axis of balance. This shrinking process does not happen overnight. It is the result of years of postural micro-adjustments and compensations that the brain makes to avoid immediate discomfort. When the head begins to project forward and the shoulders close in, the body's center of gravity shifts, forcing the hip and knee joints to work at angles they were not designed for. What begins as a habit of looking at the ground while walking or sitting in a hunched position transforms into a biomechanical trap that exponentially increases the risk of serious falls. The perception of insecurity while walking arises precisely from this disconnection between what the brain expects from the body and the reality of a misaligned structure. In addition to changes in the discs, we face postural sarcopenia and osteopenia, which are the true villains behind the loss of physical autonomy and maturity. Sarcopenia is the gradual reduction of muscle mass, especially affecting the erector spinae muscles and the core complex, which should keep the trunk upright against the force of gravity. When these muscles weaken, the spine loses its lateral and frontal supports, yielding to the curvature. Added to this, osteopenia and osteoporosis weaken the bone tissue, making the vertebrae susceptible to microfractures that accentuate thoracic kyphosis, the famous hunchback. This biological scenario creates a vicious cycle of fragility where lack of strength generates poor posture, and poor posture prevents the performance of exercises that could strengthen the bones. It is a cascade of events that, if not interrupted, dictates a future of dependence and respiratory limitations. The central conflict we face is not just the passing years, but the passive acceptance of a silent error that accelerates functional decline. The habit of allowing the body to mold itself to a sedentary lifestyle. Often, without noticing, we spend the day with our heads projected forward, whether looking at a phone or the ground while walking, which generates a colossal strain on the base of the neck. This misalignment is not just a muscular problem, it is the beginning of a weakness that robs you of your ability to stay upright and confident. What is at stake here is your own basic autonomy, for a spine that bends is a structure that no longer supports the weight of freedom. By ignoring the need to strengthen deep muscles, you allow your body to become a prison of constant rigidity. The true tragedy of this conflict is that postural loss acts as a silent invader that drastically reduces your healthy life expectancy and mental clarity. When the chest closes and the spine curves, the physical space available for the lungs and heart decreases, forcing the cardiovascular system to work under unnecessary and constant pressure. This internal compression does not just affect breathing. It sends stress signals to the brain, impairing the ability to think clearly and make quick decisions. The conflict lies in the choice between allowing gravity to dictate the pace of your aging or taking command of your physical structure to preserve your dignity. Without conscious intervention, the result is a cycle of family dependence and social isolation, where physical fragility ends up dictating the rules of your very existence. Imagine a simple test that reveals the state of your skeletal health and the true age of your spine. Try to lean against a flat wall, touching your heels, buttocks, and shoulder blades firmly. If you find it impossible to touch the back of your head to the wall without tilting your chin upward in an uncomfortable way, you are facing the invisible sign of postural collapse. This phenomenon, known as the silent signal, occurs when chest muscles shorten and the upper back rounds, a process that starts slowly but accelerates drastically after age 60. This lack of flexibility is your body's way of warning you that structural integrity is being compromised by gravity and a lack of specific opening movements. It is not just a stiff neck, it is a sign that your body is molding itself into a smaller version. When we spend most of our time sitting or looking down, our musculoskeletal system begins to understand that this hunched position is the new pattern for rest and stability. Over the years, the fascia and tendons lose their original elasticity, creating a kind of armor of rigidity that traps the spine in a harmful kyphotic position. This process of molding to a sedentary lifestyle is what we call passive structural collapse, where gravity overcomes the resistance of the soft tissues that should keep us upright. It is fundamental to understand that this change is not sudden, but the accumulation of small daily negligences that result in the loss of that noble and imposing posture that characterizes full biological vitality. The human body possesses fascinating plasticity, but this characteristic can become a cruel trap if not monitored with attention. The cascade of organ compression starts devastatingly with the lungs, which are the first to suffer from the closing of the rib cage. When the spine curves forward, the space available for the expansion of the diaphragm is physically reduced, limiting the amount of oxygen that enters with each deep breath. This creates a state of mild but constant functional asphyxia, generating chronic fatigue that many seniors mistake for the natural tiredness of old age. Without adequate oxygenation, the blood carries fewer nutrients to the tissues, and the heart must beat faster to compensate for the respiratory deficiency. Breathing freely becomes an arduous task, and the simple act of walking turns into an exhausting challenge solely because the mast of your body is preventing your lungs from functioning at their maximum vital capacity. If you are realizing the importance of keeping your spine upright for your health and autonomy, know that you are not alone on this journey. Many of our viewers have already begun to notice incredible changes just by paying attention to these signs we are discussing here. I would like to hear from you. Have you ever felt like you are getting shorter, or do you have difficulty touching your head to the wall as we described? Leave your story in the comments, as your experience helps other members of our community who seek to age with dignity. And if you value information that gives you back control over your aging, subscribe to the channel now so you don't miss our upcoming longevity guides. Your support is fundamental for us to continue bringing this content that transforms the perception of old age into a moment of real power. Beyond the respiratory system, poor posture exerts direct mechanical pressure on the digestive system, especially on the stomach and upper esophagus, When the trunk collapses upon itself, the abdominal organs are compressed, which impairs the natural peristaltic movement necessary for efficient and painless digestion. This explains why so many individuals over 60 suffer from persistent gastroesophageal reflux, heartburn, and a feeling of bloating even after light meals. Physical compression alters the angle of the esophageal sphincter, allowing acid to rise and cause chronic discomfort that affects sleep quality and overall well-being. Therefore, keeping the spine upright is not just a matter of appearance, but a physiological necessity to ensure your metabolism processes food correctly and without generating painful inflammatory complications. The axis between the brain and the spine is perhaps the most vital and underestimated connection when we talk about health in old age. The forward projection of the head, known as cervical anteriorization, creates extreme tension at the base of the skull, where crucial blood vessels for cerebral irrigation pass. This constant compression can reduce the flow of oxygenated blood to the brain, resulting in so-called mental fog, difficulty concentrating, and even frequent episodes of dizziness or imbalance. When the neck loses its natural curvature, the nerves exiting the spinal cord can suffer irritation that affects the clarity of signals sent to the limbs. It is a mistake to believe that cognitive decline is just a matter of neurons. Often, lack of lucidity and slow reasoning are direct consequences of a physical structure that is literally strangling the mind's vital supply. The tension accumulated at the base of the neck does not just affect circulation, it also sends continuous stress signals to the central nervous system. The brain interprets the hunched posture and projected head as a sign of vulnerability or imminent danger, which keeps the body in a constant and unnecessary state of alert. This survival mechanism increases levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, which in turn accelerates the process of systemic inflammation and muscle degradation throughout the body. By correcting head alignment and relaxing the shoulders, you send a message of safety and control to your limbic system, allowing the body to exit defense mode and enter cellular regeneration mode. Therefore, the verticality of the spine is a potent biological switch that can calm an anxious mind and restore lost emotional balance. One of the most important concepts for regaining autonomy is understanding neuromuscular reconnection, the fact that the brain forgets how to stand straight. After years of poor posture, your nervous system redefines what it considers to be the center of balance, making the hunched position your new sensory pattern. This means that even when you try to straighten up, the body feels like it is in a strange or uncomfortable position and quickly returns to its habitual collapse. To reverse this, simply doing strength exercises is not enough. Deep and constant proprioceptive re-education is necessary. You need to retrain your brain on where the top of your head should be in relation to the ground. This practice requires mindfulness and repetition, but it is the only real path for upright posture to become natural again. To restore this lost muscle memory, you must use proprioceptive stimuli that challenge the body to find its original vertical axis safely. Simple exercises such as leaning your back against the wall and performing controlled arm movements serve to awaken the small stabilizer muscles that have lain dormant for decades of postural inactivity. These muscles, located deep along the spine, are responsible for keeping the structure firm without you needing to think about it every second of the day. When these tissues are reactivated, you begin to feel a sense of lightness and support that previously seemed impossible to reach again. It is a journey of physical rediscovery where every small adjustment contributes to the skeletal structure supporting the body's weight efficiently, reducing the strain on peripheral joints and ensuring safety. The power of verticality goes far beyond physical health as it exerts a profound and immediate impact on your brain chemistry and emotions. Neuroscience studies show that keeping the spine upright and the chest open significantly reduces cortisol levels and increases the production of hormones related to confidence and personal well-being. When you stand with dignity, your brain receives information that you are a capable, strong individual in control of your own life. This change in power posture alters how you feel internally and how you process daily challenges, decreasing feelings of helplessness or sadness. Aging with a straight spine is a biological affirmation that you are still a protagonist in your story, not a passive victim of time, ensuring that your mind remains vigorous and sharp. How you carry your body communicates your vitality and your level of functional independence to the world, influencing how society treats you. A hunched posture and a lowered head communicate fragility and submission, which often leads society to adopt overprotective or infantilizing behavior toward the elderly. On the other hand, an individual who maintains verticality and looks toward the horizon transmits authority, lucidity, and a striking presence that commands natural respect in any social setting. Maintaining an upright spine is an act of preserving dignity, ensuring you continue to be seen as an active and competent person, capable of managing your own affairs sovereignly. This positive social perception reinforces your own self-esteem, creating a virtuous cycle where physical vigor sustains mental strength and personal pride. Finally, integrating these practices into your daily life requires adopting the mental technique we call the golden line. Imagine an invisible thread coming out of the top of your head and gently pulling you toward the ceiling, creating space between each of your vertebrae. This constant awareness allows you to make small adjustments to the position of your shoulders and chin while performing simple tasks, such as washing dishes or walking in the park. Over time, these adjustments cease to be mechanical and become part of your renewed physical identity. The final goal is for you to regain not only the inches lost to gravity, but also the confidence that your body is a robust structure. By keeping the mast of your life raised, you ensure that the sails of your health continue to catch the winds of active longevity. Think of the story of two distinct paths, that of Joachim, who accepted aging as an inevitable process of shrinking, and by ignoring the curvature of his shoulders, saw his balance disappear, now depending on a walker. He believed constant tiredness was just the weight of the years, not realizing his crushed rib cage was silently stealing his vital breath and joy. In contrast, Helena, at 80 years old, decided her spine would be her sacred mast of power. By practicing scapular awareness and the opening maneuver daily, she not only regained height she thought was lost, but also maintained a vigorous walk and a physical presence that commands immediate respect. While Joachim feels fragile and dependent, Helena is a living example that verticality is the unshakable foundation of human independence and dignity. We must understand that the human body does not age randomly. It is the biological result of a narrative written over decades through every small postural gesture. The decline that many consider sudden is, in fact, a progressive and silent process where small negligences accumulate like a physical debt that will be collected with high interest in advanced maturity. The spine that bends today is the echo of thousands of hours in which we allowed gravity to overcome our will to remain upright and present in the world. Aging with power requires the understanding that every choice of posture is a vote of confidence in our longevity. The body responds to the stimulus, and the awareness that decline can be shaped by our intention transforms old age from an inevitable burden into a conscious achievement of strength. Feeling that the body is collapsing under the weight of the years can generate genuine and paralyzing fear, but it is essential to understand that the alarm of pain is an invitation to action. While postural neglect accelerates fragility and dependence, modern biomechanical science guarantees that the human body possesses an impressive capacity for adaptation. It is never too late to start rebuilding your internal structure. Every time you choose to align your shoulders and open your chest, you interrupt the cycle of degeneration and begin a process of vital strengthening. Hope lies in the fact that simple and consistent changes in your daily routine generate real and lasting impacts on your quality of life. You are not condemned to the curvature of time, for you hold the sovereign power to rewrite your biology. Considering the long-term implications of a neglected posture means facing a future marked by the progressive loss of freedom and an increase in unwanted family dependence. If nothing is done now to correct spinal alignment, the natural outcome will be accelerated cognitive decline and severe loss of mobility, culminating in hospitalizations due to preventable falls. You who have made it this far demonstrate an admirable commitment to your own autonomy, and for that reason I ask you to share this video with friends and family who need to wake up to this urgent care. In contrast, those who act preventively guarantee vitality and lucidity, enjoying life with total independence. Choosing postural prevention today is ensuring a future where your presence is marked by strength. Share this knowledge so that more people can regain control over their own aging and live with fulfillment. One of the most surprising revelations, often ignored by conventional medicine, is that your height is not a static value, but a dynamic variable that depends on tissue health. The shrinking you perceive may not be bone loss, but a reversible biomechanical collapse caused by muscle inactivity. For this transformation to become real, start today with the thoracic opening maneuver for 30 seconds and use the golden line technique in your daily tasks. As we reach the end of this journey, it is clear that your spine is the central axis of your dignity and independence. Now I invite you to reflect, how do you want to carry your body from today onward? Leave your answer in the comments and subscribe to strengthen your longevity. Always keep your mast raised, for every small adjustment today impacts the coming decades of your life with power and glory.